Roughly 80% of millionaires are first generation, which basically means they didn't inherit money. They built it. Quietly, methodically, and without needing to announce it to the entire world. Today, we're breaking down 7 habits of the quietly wealthy, and they're the kind of habits that you can start today, even on a low income. Habit number 1 may seem really obvious, but they are spending less than they earn. Always. Warren Buffett is a renowned billionaire worth over $153 billion as of today. But here's the key thing. He still lives in the same house that he bought in 1958. And despite being worth over $100 billion, he still eats McDonald's for breakfast. Now, if that doesn't tell you that he's just like you and me, I don't know what else does. Quietly wealthy people master one rule early. Spend less than you earn and invest the difference. It sounds really simple, but most people actually live way above their means. That's how we end up with things like loans and credit cards, all for the sake of appearing comfortable, even though the complete opposite is typically true. Quiet wealth prioritizes actual comfort. It's a case of having financial safety and not that surface level visual status. Habit number 2 is that they value compound growth and not instant gratification. I have touched on compound wealth in the past and how that can have such an impact. But the fact is, compound growth has to be a long-term habit. Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. Quietly wealthy people don't just save. What they actually do is let time do the heavy lifting. This could look like interest on investments or even on the power of consistent habit. But what they do is that they understand that these tiny repetitions, these really small repeated actions, outperform dramatic one-offs. To be clear, compound interest is interest on your interest, and it's one of the most powerful money concepts that you'll ever learn. Here's how it works. When you save or invest your money, you earn interest on the original amount. This is typically called the principal. With compound interest, you're earning interest on the interest that you've already earned. And that cycle keeps on going onwards and upwards. And effectively, it means that your money is growing faster and faster over time. Here's a really simple example. Let's say you invest £1,000 at 5% interest per year, compounded annually. Year 1, you earn £50, that's 5% of £1,000, and the total becomes £1,050. By year 2, you earn 5% on £1,050, which means you get £52.50, and your total is £1,102.50. Year 3, you earn 5% on £1,102.50, which means you get £55.13. The total is £1,157.63. Each year, the amount is growing bigger, not because you've added more money, but because your interest earned is earning interest. And that, in a nutshell, is compound interest. And the earlier that you can start to do this, then the bigger impact you can have on your savings. £100 a month over 10 years eventually becomes £15,000. It's slow, it's boring, but it works. Habit number 3 is to avoid lifestyle creep. It is so easy for us to start spending more money when we earn more money. When your salary goes up, you start to inflate your own lifestyle because suddenly you can afford that fancy watch. Suddenly you can afford to upgrade your car. Suddenly you can afford to eat out a little bit more. But just because you can afford to do that doesn't mean that you should. And the quietly wealthy people know this. When their income goes up, their expenses don't. Quiet wealth doesn't come from earning more. It just comes from not spending it all. Quietly wealthy people might upgrade a few essentials, but they are not going to scale every single part of their life just because they can. Instead, they typically channel that increase into long-term assets and investments and not short-term dopamine hits. Habit number 4 is that they track every pound. It's not about being obsessed, it's about being aware. And if you have been on this channel before or on here for a while, you will know that I talk about this being the number 1 habit, is to track every single pound or penny. And it has been the catalyst that has got me from where I was to where I am today. So whether they do that on a budgeting app, whether they use cash envelopes, whether they use a spreadsheet, quietly wealthy people know exactly what their money is doing and when and where it's going. Whatever can get measured is getting managed. And the truth is, whatever you're not tracking, you are effectively leaking. And the quietly wealthy people do not let money slip through their fingers. Habit number 5 is that they build systems and not willpower. They don't rely on discipline alone, they automate transfers. They set rules. They create friction between themselves and impulse decisions. Systems will always beat motivation. Even with the strongest will in the world, if you've already got something set up in place, it will always trump those good intentions. Think about when you get paid, you automatically pay your bills, you automatically invest 10%, you automatically transfer some to your savings account. And you do that the minute you get paid. You don't even see it hitting in your account because it comes in and it goes straight out exactly where it needs to be to do its job. And with that mindset, you are not then relying on, I hope I remember to save this month. Habit number 6 is that they never stop learning. Financial literacy is a skill, and quietly wealthy people treat it this way. They read, they listen, they learn from people who've done it just like you're doing right now. They're not afraid to question habits that they've outgrown. The minute that you think you know it all is the minute that you start to make poor decisions. The quiet wealthy are curious, but they're not cocky. Habit number 7 is that they stay underrated on purpose. You will typically find the quietly wealthy with no big labels, no big showy upgrades. Quiet wealth is silent by choice. It doesn't care what anyone else thinks. If anything, it thrives under the radar. Because the moment you start to hyperfixate and focus on trying to prove something, that is the moment that you've lost your priorities. You're spending for them and not saving for you. Now, here's the thing. These habits are not just reserved for millionaires. They're how people become financially stable. They're how they get themselves out of any debt situation they might be in and how they can start to grow exponentially. Quiet wealth is not about luck. People always say to me, you were really lucky, you got in that really good position. It wasn't luck. It was discipline. It was focus. It was about having a pattern, and it was about having my future self at my front of my mind and protecting my future peace. And you can honestly start where you are. I did. I started it in such a low position, I never thought I would be able to see the end. But you can start today, start tracking and delay that gratification. But most of all, stay quietly focused, because that's where the real power is. If you've enjoyed this video, you want more strategy-led financial content just like this one and step-by-step systems that actually work, I'd absolutely love it if you give us a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments section which of these habits you already do or which ones you're going to take on and try next. Have yourself an amazing day, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.